Good evening, everyone. Hell's Unicorn here once again, and I was about to call it a night when I went through my collection of subscriptions here, and I got linked to a very interesting article. This is something that pertains to the Kentucky Senate race, and in no small way, let me tell you. Apparently, the Democratic opponent and also the current Attorney General of the state of Kentucky, Jack Conway, is mixed up in some very shady business here. I have a link to the article in the description, and I'm going to read it for you right now. A Jefferson County prosecutor was tipped off by Louisville narcotics detectives twice in the past 2 years that he was under investigation for possible drug use or trafficking, according to police records obtained by the Courier-Journal. When investigators learned of the leaks and interrogated the two detectives and the prosecutor last March, all three initially gave false or misleading statements about what happened. Those records show. The statements of Matthew C. Conway, the prosecutor, were made under oath. Details of the compromised investigations were contained in nearly 700 pages of documents obtained from Louisville Metro Police under the state open records law. Conway, the brother of Kentucky Attorney General Jack Conway, had recently resigned from the Jefferson County Attorney's office to enter private practice when he learned of the first investigation in early 2008. At the time of the second leak in January of this year, Conway was an assistant Commonwealth attorney, a position he still holds. Ronald Russ and Scott Wilson, the two detectives accused of the leaks to Matthew Conway, have been placed in administrative jobs pending the outcome of an internal police inquiry into possible policy violations. Wilson told Conway of the first investigation, and Russ told him of the second one. The two investigations were prompted by separate allegations. After a criminal investigation by police, the Jefferson County Attorney's Office decided in August that no charges would be filed against Conway, Russ, Wilson, or a third narcotics detective, Chauncey Carthan, who was not involved in the leaks but was overheard discussing the second investigation in a restaurant last March. Carthan's conversation was reported to Jack Conway, a candidate for the U.S. Senate, by a person supporting him. The brothers subsequently conferred with an attorney about the investigation of Matthew Conway, according to the investigative file. The lawyer, Bart Adams of Louisville, then met with Police Chief Robert White to discuss Carthan's conduct, according to the records. Jack Conway's office said in an email to the newspaper Thursday that his only involvement was to advise his brother to obtain legal counsel. White declined to discuss the case, citing the pending police inquiry. Adams declined to comment in detail, saying, "After the election, I'll talk to you about anything. I've represented Matt from the beginning. The allegations were baseless. I can't believe police went as far as they did. Neither drug investigation resulted in any charges against Matthew Conway. The three officers all were involved in investigations of him when the leaks occurred. Conway, 34, a graduate of Emory University and the University of Louisville Law School, declined to be interviewed by the Courier-Journal. But the police file shows that in response to questions by investigators last March, he said of the drug-related allegations, "It's insane. I don't need to traffic drugs. I have money. I have plenty. I work as a prosecutor because I like it." Russ, Wilson, and Carthan, who is also named in the department's pending administrative inquiry but has remained in his regular job, declined through a police department spokeswoman to answer questions. Their attorneys also refused to comment. Commonwealth's attorney David Stengel said in an interview earlier this week that he had reviewed all the evidence gathered by police and was convinced that Conway was neither a drug user nor a trafficker. Stengel said he also concluded that Conway had done nothing wrong except to make a well-intended but boneheaded statement when he denied to police that he had been tipped off by Russ to the second drug investigation. "It's still perjury even if it was a dumb statement." That was my comment. Stengel said he decided not to discipline Conway for being dishonest because he went back and corrected that immediately. Oof, anybody else would have done that, they would have ended up in jail for perjury and contempt. My comment there. However, records show that Conway actually offered his corrected account 4 days later, and after another witness advised him that he had told investigators a different story. Oh, so he got caught in a lie. Conway told investigators he had lied to protect Russ because I just didn't want to see him lose his job over this. And it was foolish, and I'm sorry, it was wrong, and you know I'm paying for it now, the records show. David Harris, a professor of law at the University of Pittsburgh who writes and teaches about police behavior and law enforcement, said Stengel let Conway off too easily. That's the understatement of the decade. Continuing, to admit you lied in an investigation when you were the subject and it involved law enforcement conduct, I find that very troubling, Harris said, adding that he found it mysterious that this wouldn't trouble Stengel. Lewis Katz, a professor at Case Western Reserve University School of Law, said a criminal justice attorney agreed. Katz also said Conway's false statements to investigators absolutely have impugned his integrity and therefore his ability to represent the state in court. He is hopelessly compromised, Katz said. Now, on the first investigation. In early 2008, Louisville police received information that Matthew Conway might be involved with illegal drugs, prompting Detective Wilson to tell Louisville attorney Scott Roby, who in turn notified Conway, the records show. Wilson told department investigators on March 25th that he had informed Roby of a complaint against Conway because the two attorneys knew each other. I was asking him, man, do you think this is true? Wilson said. Roby, who was not interviewed by police, declined to comment when contacted by the Courier-Journal. Conway and Wilson, both of whom attended St. Xavier High School at about the same time and are long acquaintances, they told investigators. After first evading the question, Wilson eventually acknowledged to the investigator that he allowed Conway to read the complaint accusing him of drug involvement. Ergo, he tipped him off. Wilson also acknowledged that after telling Conway he wanted to search his home, he waited 2 days to conduct the search, rather than that day or the following day, as he initially told investigators. Nothing incriminating was found. Big surprise, the guy had 2 days to potentially clean his house out if he did have something in there. My comment there. Continuing now. Upon hearing Wilson's admission about this handling of the case, Sergeant Rick Pollan of the department's Public Integrity Unit told him, "That's a problem, Scott. It's the same, in my opinion, as telling him, hey, watch your back. There's a drug complaint about you." It's kind of like, clean your house. I'll be over there in 2 days. When Wilson finally conducted the search, Pollan said, it stands to reason that there was nothing there. Wilson said he notified Conway before searching his home because he was skeptical of the allegations. It just seemed like the complaint was BS, a domestic kind of issue. Conway was involved in a divorce in late 2007, early 2008. Some answering the telephone at a number listed for his former wife hung up when a reporter called. She did not respond to subsequent messages. Second investigation now. During a March 10 interview with investigators, Detective Russ initially denied being the source of the second leak to Matt Conway. So we have 2 separate accusations and 2 leaks, giving him time to clean out his house. Moving on. But roughly 30 minutes after the question ended, Russ returned and acknowledged that he warned Conway when he encountered him in the courthouse in January. Matt, whatever you're doing, you need to quit, because if you don't, you're going to get caught. And I said, if you ain't doing nothing, you don't have nothing to worry about, according to the records. Russ told the investigators that he had no idea why he made the disclosure to Conway, adding, I'm sure that my working in narcotics is probably over. I just hope that my career's not over. About a week before Russ met with investigators, Jack Conway received a telephone call from a supporter, businessman Charles Alexander. According to the records, he told Conway that he had been in a downtown restaurant where he heard Detective Carthan discussing the drug investigation involving Matthew Conway, John Conway's brother. The record reflects varying accounts of what Carthan allegedly said. He told police investigators that while talking with a friend at the restaurant about the inquiry, he merely mentioned mentioned his investigation and said that he had heard a lot of incriminating things about Matthew Conway. Carthan told the investigators that he considered the investigation closed because it had already been comprised when Russ and Conway told Conway he had been investigated. But Alexander had told police that Carthan, overhearing him chatting with an acquaintance about fundraising for Jack Conway, who was locked in a close primary election campaign with Lieutenant Governor Daniel Mongiardo for the Senate. Moving on. Alexander said Carthan told them not to waste their money on Jack Conway, that he had a case on Conway's brother, and that he was dirty or corrupt according to the records. Alexander declined to discuss the matter with the newspaper. Alexander then called Jack Conway, who in turn called his brother, and said they needed to meet the following day, according to the records. Adams, the attorney, also attended the meeting at Jack Conway's home, and it was decided that he would report Carthan to Chief White, the record shows. Adams went on to see White on the morning of March 5th. So Jack Conway is intimidating police officers who are outing his corrupt brother. Wow. Moving on. The substance of their conversation could not be determined. Police Department spokeswoman Carrie Klain said White would not discuss the meeting with Adams or any related matters while the department's internal investigation is pending. Adams declined to comment on the meeting. Adams and Jack Conway had an interest in the Matthew Conway investigation before the three men met, the records show. When police interviewed Russ on March 10th, he said Adams had called him 2 or 3 weeks earlier and told him that Jack Conway wanted to know if the police were working on a case involving his brother. Russ said he replied to Adams he couldn't discuss the matter. After the conversation, Russ said Adams called him back 2 or 3 more times saying, "Don't worry about it, everything's okay." Asked by investigators what he thought Adams meant, Russ said he assumed people were asking the Conways what was going on. Russ said he told Adams that if police learned he had tipped off Matthew Conway, "I'm going to lose my job, my career, everything." Russ said Adams replied, "Oh, you're fine, don't worry about it, everything's good, don't worry about it." Before the Courier-Journal could ask Adams about his alleged remarks to Russ, he repeated that he had no comment and hung up. After he was to discuss his knowledge of the investigation involving his brother with the meeting with Adams, Jack Conway's statement did not address the issue either. When the newspaper renewed its request for elaboration, Allison Gardner Martin, communications director for the Attorney General's office, said Conway does not deny that Adams met with him and his brother, but she declined to address what Conway knew about the decision to have Adams visit White. Wow. Alright, so basically to sum up here, everybody, we have a person running for the Senate that in addition to being a proven liar and a basic scumbag, he also has a brother with some very large legal problems, and it looks like he's pretty well involved in it at this point. He's actually intimidated a police officer who spoke openly about an ongoing investigation. Nice. So go to this link, read this for yourself, and then spread this around. Tell everybody about this. Call local news and also national media. Try to get this out, because this Conway guy needs to go down fast. With prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you, good evening.